right, I'm going to show a quick little demonstration on how to use the PowerVision with Winpv Pvv value files. I've had a few people not even know that they existed, or some people like kind of ask me questions about it. So I just figured I'd come up with something real quick to kind of give an example and what it's used for. So in a nutshell, it's essentially a simple, quick, easy copy and paste type of situation. So if we go up to File, let's just find where we're going to use it at. It's going to be this right here, the Save All Values, Save Selected Values, Load All Values, Load Selected Values. Okay, that's where, this is the whole area where it's pretty much used at. So if we go through and we actually look at any of these tables, we'll see that there's little check boxes beside it. Some people are like, what the hell are these even for? Okay, well, what they're for is directly for the PVV value file selection. If we come up here and we look at Save Selected Values, that's what that checkbox is selected values. So the reason why we would need to use that is, say there's something like, okay, I want to copy and paste from one calibration to another, whether it be like copy and pasting from an 044 to a 009 or this, that, or the other. You can copy and paste from one calibration to another, or if you're wanting to go through and set up a calibration before you start tuning, and instead of going through kind of like a checklist of all the things, oh shit, I need to update all of these things and get started with a tune, you can actually go through and set these up preemptively so that your calibration will be ready to go from the get-go. So just for example, like say, whenever I go to tune, I want to make sure that these are all, my throttle progressivity table is set to max, okay? And then whenever I'm initially tuning, I want knock control shut off, okay? Just a couple of quick examples. So I can go through on my throttle blade control, click my little check mark there, and then on my knock control, I can click my little check mark there, so that I'm kind of presetting things up before I go to start tuning. Go to File, Go to File, go to Save Selected Values. That's only going to save the values that are checked with those little check boxes. We can just go to Test, rename it that, yes, that's fine. Okay, so then is what happens is whenever I open up a new calibration, I'm going to go ahead and shut off knock control and turn my throttle blade control up to 100%, a 1-to-1 ratio. I can just come up here, go to Load All Values, which is fine because I want to load those values. I'll go through here and go to Test, boom, done, open. Granted, it's not going to change anything because I already had it set at that, but that's what it's going to do, is it's going to set your knock control to 0, and it's going to change your throttle blade control to whatever you had saved it for at that point in time. The thing that I like using it for, like say I want to enable target tune on a bike. So we're going to load all values. I have my own little setup tables just for this. This is a lambda calibration, so we're going to go ahead and load lambda target tune. It's going to go ahead and change. I personally, whenever I'm tuning, I don't want adaptive control on, so I set that to 0. The lean limit, the rich limit, the learning rate, the target tune switch turned from 0 to 1, AE switch to what it needs to be, DE switch to what it needs to be, let's see here, yep, the wideband range, the wideband offset, the minimum map, maximum map, blah, blah, blah. The big thing is on target tune is shutting off the heated O2s, or else you'll have the code on the whole time. Okay, great, so boom. Now I'm ready for target tune. It's done. It's enabled. So now, okay, I went through, I tuned, now I want to disable that so I can load all values. I've also got one for pretty much going back through and undoing what I just did. I don't have to have a little checklist that I have to go through to be like, oh yes, I need to turn this off, turn this off, turn this off, change this, change this. I can just load this up and boom, it changes it right back to what it was, and we're good to go. It turns it back on my heated O2s and blah, blah. The other thing that I kind of use this for too is on a lot of these bikes is, especially the newer ones with the plethora of speed limiters, is, oh, God dang it. We go through and we load all values and we go with starting. So I've got speed limiters set up, so boom, it'll open up speed limiters to max them out essentially. So I don't have to go through each boom, 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 boom speed limiter. I've got all of these saved already at at this point in time, saved at 158. So I don't have to think about going through each individual one to set it to that. Okay, so boom, it already maxed out all my speed limiters, so I don't have to go through and do that. So you can kind of come up with if you've got a brand new calibration that you've never dealt with before, you can come up with something that all these different things, like drive-by-wire throttle limit per gear. If you want to set that to all to 255, you can include that in your PVV file. Any of the things that whenever you first go into a calibration that you're automatically setting to this, that, or the other, boom, that's what this works good for, is you can select a whole bunch of these different tables and set it to exactly what you want. Let's see here, any other things? But yes, so if you select all values, is what that's going to do is that's going to copy every single table that you may have. If you've got calibrator, it's going to show you, it's going to copy both the min and max of each table, every single table. It's going to essentially copy every value of this table, or of this calibration. And that can be used for, like I said earlier, of like copying from one to another. So before PowerVision gave us the option of the water-cooled switch, I use this a lot for if I had a water-cooled bike that came in with a certain combination, I would copy all values and then paste that into a non-water-cooled calibration, and boom, if it was, pretty much the same exact setup, same cam, same blah, blah, it at least gave me a good starting point. Instead of having to go through, do a load compare of the same blah, blah, and you can either go to Delta or just copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. It's a mass copy, paste without you having to go through each individual table and doing it. It does take a little bit of time because there's a lot of tables that's having to change. It'll take a second for it to, a few seconds for it to load everything up and go through it. But that's the quick, easy way of what the PVV file setup works on these. Now, this is specifically for Winpv. I'll make another quick video with using C3 and their own personal PVV files that work for it. All right, you guys have a good day. All right, I'm making another quick video on the value files with C3. They are a bit different than dealing with Winpv. Hopefully they'll fix it in the future. Maybe they won't, maybe they will, who knows. But this is what we're dealing with. So with the PVV files with C3, we come up here, we're at home, I got a calibration open, boom. We got either import or export. You can't, like with Winpv, you could select certain values, but they don't exactly have that option with, that's not the same way, let's just say. One of the main points to take away is any of the tables in C3 that now have these checkboxes, it's completely different than what we were dealing with in Winpv. These checkboxes are the extra tables, I guess, that you can select or not to select to be flashed. These right now are checked because I just wanted to make sure that they got flashed into the ECM correctly and then I wasn't forgetting anything. But any of the value files that you save in a C3 with C3, it does not save these values. Anything with the checkbox, it doesn't save those, and it's not going to change those to the new calibration. So like the example that I had before was turning on target tune, heated O2 sensors will not get turned on or off. It's just one of those things in the, they call it an EEPROM setup, that's what these little checkboxes are for. You'll see it a lot in the limits and switches, in the knock control, in the with some of the older calibrations with the speed sensor calibration type of setup. Those won't get written with the PVV files. But just as an example, we'll go through it and we'll export values. Here is where we can choose what tables we want to be copied, essentially. So right now, it's just naturally, it checks them all. So that's where you can go through and you can select the ones that you do want to be saved or not to be saved. Or if you just want to do the same copy and paste situation like I described before, you can just leave them all checked and it'll save all of those, export it as a PVV file, and then you can import it into your next calibration if you want to do that. Say we just want to do, just for example, I want to have the AE freeze level, DE freeze level, time, blah, blah, all this stuff. I can go through and pick not that, but I can go through and pick each one of these checkboxes that I want to specifically save. Then I can export these values. I can put it in my PVV file and just say C3 example. Okay. Then whenever I open up my next calibration and I click this, go to import value files, find it, C3 example, open that up, boom, item found in target, item found in target. It's going to change those values to what I saved. Okay, so the big thing is that just because of the different software, or I guess software types between Winpv and C3, the value files don't exactly cross-reference. So if you've started using C3 a lot more, your value files that you use for Winpv aren't going to work exactly correctly with C3. So you kind of have to go back through and start over again with C3 if you're making new value files. So like just for example, I talked about the throttle blade control of dealing with throttle blade. Okay, so this one's set at this. If I want to go through and I want to set it to 100, and see that's the problem that we have with that, is the max values are kind of screwed up with C3, but quick and easy, fix it, and then boom, done. Okay, so I've maxed out my throttle blade control. So if I'm asking for 25% throttle, I'm getting 25% throttle. So if I want to save that as a starting value, just like I did with Winpv, export values, I make sure that all I do is I just go through and I find, these are all alphabetized, so it works out nice. I just go to my throttle blade control, boom, I want to save that, and I'll save it as something simple as like C3 throttle. Perfect. And then whenever I open up my next calibration that, okay, I want to quickly just get to this, boom, done, I can just load that PVV file and it automatically does that. Now, granted, I just did it with one table, but if there's many things that you want to change before you start tuning, that's where you can go through and select all of these value files off of one that you already have set up. Select all those value files, and then the next time you go to do it, boom, it'll change all those things instead of you having to go through kind of a checklist to do so. The same thing kind of like worked with, I was talking about earlier, with enabling target tune, so I can import values. I've already got them set up as, say, we got C3 lambda target tune. So check all of these to make sure that it's going to change those value files. At that point in time, apply values, boom, done. It's already changed, and we can see that it's, if we go through and we look at fuel, we've seen that it's changed my closed loop, blah, 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 value files. So at that point in time, it's ready for target tune, except for the fact of my EEPROM values, because whenever we enable target tune, we do not need the heated O2 sensors on. For Screaming Eagles, or Harley's Screaming Eagle wideband setup, yes, the wideband stay on. But for Dynojet's target tune setup, they do not stay on. So at this point in time, I would jump into here, go to my heated O2s. Oh, look at there, it's still set to a 1. So any of the EEPROM stuff, the value files do not change. Anything that doesn't have a checkbox, it does change. The checkbox is EEPROM value files, or EEPROM files, or EEPROM tables, let's say, those things it will not change. But everything else, it'll definitely change. All right?